Hey, what's up everybody? Taylor with KC here, and today I'm with Art again. And we just got done watching the new Ram TRX unveiling. So we just kind of wanted to do another one of our instantaneous kind of reaction videos, just because it's a really cool truck that's coming out on the market, and Art and I both kind of thought there were some really interesting points about it. So we just kind of wanted to go over it and give you guys some of our first initial impressions on it.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool that Ram's finally coming out and competing with the Raptor that's been out for like over a decade now, or about a decade. And yeah, I can't wait to see what they have.
Yeah, just speaking of the Raptor, I mean, of course, that's going to be the dialogue of everything surrounding the TRX from Ram.
Yeah.
The initial, the opening scene of the TRX unveiling is a literal T-Rex dinosaur tossing a Raptor dinosaur, in the air.
If you've seen Jurassic Park, you know the scene.
Exactly. So, pretty clearly they're going after the Raptor segment. Obviously, this is the truck that's meant to compete with it, so we're really excited. So let's kind of dive into some of the specs. Art, you can kind of go over some of the horsepower figures, stuff like that.
It's powered by, their tried and true 6.2 liter supercharged engine. It's 702 horsepower, 650 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. So that's pretty fast for a truck.
That's gnarly for a truck.
That's really fast. It's really fast.
Super fast, tons of power.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire unveiling, throughout that entire video that Ram put out, they kept saying over and over and over again, the fastest, quickest, and most powerful truck. So clearly that's one of their big selling points for it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's kind of, Dodge's, that's their thing that they're known for, just stuffing a huge V8 in a car and just selling it.
Yep, exactly.
And they do well. I mean, I've seen tons of them on the road.
Yeah, they do really well. So obviously one of the big selling points is the motor of it. This is clearly tackling, once again, the Raptor segment. And what's interesting about it is, of course, they use a lot of footage that was from the desert. So they went up to Utah, they filmed a bunch of stuff up there.
Yeah.
It was a lot of desert, dusty, sideways, the truck getting sideways, dust flying out everywhere type of footage.
Is typical, scenery for a truck of that stature. That's basically what the trucks are built for. Even though it has different modes, that's the terrain that they're going to be on, mostly.
Totally. And throughout the whole video, that's pretty much the only type of terrain that they showed the truck even in. They talked about it having a rock mode. They didn't show any of that. They talked about it having a mud and a snow mode. They didn't really show it in any of that type of terrain either. So
but
it's
I guess if
clear.
you're going to have a truck again of that statue, I guess you got to throw in those drive modes.
Totally.
It's just a given.
Yeah, totally. So some of the suspension specs, we'll just kind of dive into that for those of you that haven't seen this yet.
It's going to have 11.85 inches of ground clearance, and it's going to have 13 inches of travel in the front, 14 in the rear, which is pretty good. It's going to have a 5-link rear. Mm-hmm. All tied to a Dana 60 full floater rear axle.
Yep.
And that's pretty gnarly stuff. That's pretty good. It's pretty beefy stuff right there.
That's some beef. That rear axle is stout. Obviously, you need a super strong rear axle to hold up to that 700 horsepower. So I think that'll do it, no problem.
Oh yeah.
So those numbers, just comparatively speaking to the Raptor, those are essentially the same suspension travel numbers as the Raptor right now, I should say. The current second-gen Raptor. 13 in the front, 13.9 inches in the rear for the Raptor. So, they've got an extra 1/10 of an inch travel in the rear, which you're not even going to notice.
Yeah.
The big difference on the suspension from the Raptor to the TRX is the Raptor is a leaf sprung in the back, and this is a 5-link. So, a little bit different suspension setup. Once again, this is all about the second-gen Raptor that we're comparing it to, because those are the figures that we have right now. Now we know
which has been out since 2017, might we add.
Yep.
And if you've been following any of the auto news, they're coming out with something. Yeah.
We know for a fact Ford is coming out with a new generation Raptor soon. It's rumored to be available 2021. So it's going to be the first time that they've ever done a Raptor launch the same year as a brand new F-150 launch. So kind of exciting to see that. I think that Ford was probably feeling a little bit of pressure to come out with something newer, a little bit more updated, to compete with the TRX. I mean, obviously the Raptor right now is the king of this realm, but that said, of course, they want to keep their throne, right? Yep. So they want to be able to maintain that. So kind of cool to see some of the differences. Of course, this big motor Ram is going to blow out the power specs of the current Raptor, which is like 450 horsepower or 450 foot-pounds of torque, something like that. Same
450 horsepower, 510 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah.
Which is impressive. It's a V6 twin turbo. It's pretty good. Pretty good numbers for a V6 twin turbo, but it just can't match up to, supercharged V8.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's a couple of other really cool things that I found to be really interesting about the Ram. Obviously, that big motor is going to require a lot of air, right? So it's going to need a lot of flow for that. Yep. So they did some really cool things on it. The hood scoop that you see in there, they actually moved the 3 LED, like the amber marker lights, into the hood scoop on that. But it's a fully functional airflow hood scoop through that, so that was cool. Now, another trick little thing about that was the Ram badging on the front of the grille. That's actually basically just an outline, so that is fully cut out to allow maximum airflow through that right into that engine. So that was pretty cool about it.
Yeah, and it's like, that's a truck with like a muscle car size hood scoop on the hood. Like,
totally, yeah.
Super cool. I also didn't know that vehicles over 80 inches had to have the amber marker lights on them. I did not know that. Learn something new every day.
Yeah, and so this vehicle, speaking of which, is compared to a normal Ram 1500. This vehicle is 6 inches wider than that typical 1500. So it is wide. Look wise, it's very similar looking to the Raptor. Stance is like pretty identical, at least to me.
Which is, to be expected. If it's going to be competing, it's got to have some similar things about it.
Yeah, totally. And I loved the look overall. I think it looks aggressive. I think it looks really mean.
Yeah.
They have the launch edition that's coming out in that anvil gray that we've seen them do on the Jeeps of older days. Kind of on, I think it was some of the Rubicons came in that same color back a couple years ago. So I love some of the stuff that they did with the exterior styling of it. They showed a couple of different Mopar factory accessories on it. They showed like this big roll bar that goes in the bed of the truck. I was not a big fan of that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's just going to be a factory add-on. You don't have to have it. I mean, obviously, but
it's a factory add-on option. Yeah. Off the lot, it comes with 35 inches. It's a Goodyear exclusive tire, right?
Yep.
So it's a Goodyear exclusive tire. 35s. Now, they said that the rear tire carrier, which is another factory like Mopar option, that can accommodate a 37-inch tall tire. So it seems like the truck could fit 37s underneath it without any modifications, but they didn't say.
It might be able to fit 37s. I mean, if you're going to, like Raptors I think Raptors can fit 37s, right? Yeah, so.
Yeah, so kind of interesting. So that's kind of the exterior.
It's basically just going off of like the current Ram interior, which is like the best in class interior, I believe, currently, and just adding to it. They put all kinds of sport material, sport cloth materials in it, extra bolstering and upgraded stitching, and then they also added the steering wheel, which comes on like the Hellcats and all their models. And this is the first truck that they've came out with paddle shifters.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool to see.
Paddle shifters, flat bottom steering wheel, all the controls that you'd expect. But like Art said, I mean, it's got pretty much everything we've already seen in the current Rams as far as technology goes. There are a couple little pieces of added things. What's cool is it's got an option for the 4 auxiliary switches which for a company like us, that's really great because it makes adding lights on super easy.
Yep. No need to buy extra, switch kits or anything. Just plug and play.
Yep, exactly. So having that 4 is really nice. Another thing that's really cool is an option, of course, this does not come factory on the TRX, is the heads-up display. So on your windshield, kind of right in your line of sight, it's going to do a somewhat translucent display of your your speed and a number of other different metrics that it's going to put out there. So that's kind of cool that they have an option for that. I mean, some of the higher end Chevys like the Cadillacs, things like that have had it for a while, but it's cool that the Ram is going to come out.
Starting to catch up with times.
Yep, exactly. So overall, I mean, that's pretty much it on on my side of things for it. I thought it was really cool. I think it's really interesting that they are coming out with a truck that's going to compete with Ford. I think overall, just the competition alone is going to be huge for the industry. I think it's going to.
Oh, yeah.
They're both companies are going to kind of be able to push one another. So I really love that about the TRX.
Yeah, competition drives sales at the end of the day. So the more of these vehicles that these companies put out, the better it is for all of us. The more cool stuff we get to have. So
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, we are of course super excited to be able to get our hands on one. We're going to try and come out with as many different products, vehicle specific kits for the TRX as we
Oh, yeah.
can. Whether it's something to go in that lower front bumper or a Pro 6 up top. I mean, an 8 or a 9 light Pro 6 up on top of this TRX is going to look freaking
Oh,
awesome
yeah.
on it. I mean, it's just going to be totally fitting for that. So we're stoked to get our hands on one to be able to develop products specifically for it. So
Definitely.
overall, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I thought it was an awesome truck. Can't wait to see what they do with it. Can't wait to see one in real life.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
want to hear this thing.
Yeah, it sounds really good from the video, but it's
Yeah.
nothing like in real life.
Yeah.
So.
When you watch something on a video, it doesn't compare to real life at all. So.
Exactly. So anyway, I think that's all that we had. We thank you all so much for tuning into this. We'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are on the Ram TRX. So feel free to leave whatever your thoughts are in the discussion section below, in the comments section. We'll have a great conversation about it. So thank you again once for tuning in. Art, thanks for kind of hanging out,
Yeah,
doing
no
this
problem.
this first initial reaction for us. And hope you guys enjoyed the video. And remember to adventure further.